The vitamins stealing your strength, quietly. You're taking them for energy, youth, and health. But what if they're weakening your legs and raising your fall risk? While you think they're helping, you've probably seen it on the label. Supports energy, promotes brain health, mental clarity booster. Sounds like exactly what you need, right? Especially when you're trying to stay sharp, energized, and independent. That's what makes vitamin B6 so tricky. It wears the mask of a helper, while quietly setting the stage for one of aging's cruelest surprises, peripheral neuropathy. Now here's the shocker. Your body only needs about 1.7 mg of B6 daily. Yet many energy support supplements and even common multivitamins pack 50 mg, 100 mg, even 250 mg per serving. What starts as a health habit quickly turns into something else entirely, one that, without warning, can slowly strip you of coordination, sensation, and the freedom to move safely on your own 2 feet. Imagine this. You're feeling unusually clumsy. You've been dropping things, maybe stumbling more often when getting out of bed. You chalk it up to age, or maybe just a bad night's sleep. But what's really happening is that your nerves, especially those in your legs, are being damaged. Damaged by something you trusted. That's exactly what happened to Martha, a 72-year-old with a bright spirit and a love for gardening. She started taking a brain booster supplement with 200 mg of B6 every day, thinking it would help her stay mentally agile. Within months, she noticed tingling in her feet, then numbness, then an unsteady gait. By the time she connected the dots, the nerve damage was already partially irreversible. Yes, irreversible. According to the National Institutes of Health, long-term use of vitamin B6 in doses over 100 mg per day can cause permanent nerve damage. And yet, here's the wild part, many of these supplements are available over the counter. No questions asked, no warnings bold enough to raise eyebrows. It's marketed as an enhancer, but in high doses, it's a thief. It robs you of the very mobility and confidence you were hoping to protect. But let me be crystal clear. You do need vitamin B6. It's essential for brain health, immunity, metabolism. It's just that more doesn't mean better. That's a myth that has deeply embedded itself into our culture of more is more. In truth, your body can only use so much, and the rest, it doesn't just get flushed away, it turns into trouble. So what can you do? Start by flipping your bottles. Check every supplement you take. Add them up. If you're exceeding 100 mg per day from all sources combined, it's time to pull back. If you're unsure, bring your list to a pharmacist or geriatric-focused doctor, someone who truly understands how aging changes your body's nutritional needs. Better yet, get your B6 from food. Think chicken breast, salmon, bananas, spinach, and fortified cereals. You'll get the right amount wrapped in nature's packaging without the toxic overload. Food doesn't trick you like pills can. And here's a friendly nudge. When was the last time you had a nutrient panel done? Your body changes every year. What supported you at 50 could silently sabotage you at 70. That yearly check-in could catch red flags before you start feeling those strange pins and needles in your feet or the drag in your step that no amount of rest seems to fix. You deserve clarity, not confusion. Energy, not exhaustion. Independence, not instability. But here's the secret. True strength in aging comes from knowing when to reevaluate what you've always assumed was safe. What if that little supplement you take every morning with your coffee isn't helping, but quietly hurting? What if the key to longevity isn't in adding more, but in choosing wisely and cutting back? Because here's the twist. Vitamin B6 isn't the only one. You've heard vitamin E is good for your heart, your skin, maybe even your memory. It's sold as this anti-aging miracle, so it feels like a no-brainer to take it, right? But here's the part no one talks about. In high doses, vitamin E doesn't just sit quietly in your body. It accumulates, and that buildup can start weakening your legs from the inside out. Most people don't realize that this fat-soluble vitamin lingers in your system. When levels go too high, especially over 400 IU daily, it starts interfering with how your muscles and nerves function. That means unsteady legs, slow reflexes, and more falls. It's sneaky. The first signs might just be muscle fatigue, clumsy footing, or trouble getting out of a chair. You might brush it off as aging, but often, it's not age, it's excess. A man I once met, a former high school coach in his 70s, had been taking high-dose vitamin E for years, thought it was keeping him young. but his legs started to feel like rubber. Turns out he was taking nearly 5 times the safe limit, without knowing. His fall in the kitchen? Not just bad luck, it was biochemical sabotage. The truth is, your body only needs about 22 IU a day, and food can give you that. Almonds, sunflower seeds, even leafy greens. Supplements should fill gaps, not flood your system. If your balance has been off or your strength feels lower than usual, it might not be your age catching up. It could be your supplements working against you. And if vitamin E can do this quietly, what else could be? You've probably seen vitamin A listed proudly on your multivitamin, essential for vision, immune strength, even skin health. It sounds harmless, even helpful, but here's the twist. Too much of it, especially over time, can quietly drain the very strength you rely on to stay upright, independent, and active. That's because excess vitamin A doesn't just leave your body. It stores in your liver and bones, slowly chipping away at density and muscle resilience, particularly in your legs and hips. People often take cod liver oil thinking it's a natural health booster, but it's loaded with vitamin A. Over months or years, it adds up. Suddenly, standing from a chair feels harder. Climbing stairs becomes effortful. You're not just tired, you're subtly weaker. And by the time bone loss or muscle fatigue shows up in tests or scans, much of the damage is already done. A retired librarian I met used to swear by her morning spoonful of cod liver oil. She was active, careful with her diet, even walked daily. But her bone scan told another story. Severe thinning in the hips. The cause? Years of unknowingly consuming more than double the recommended vitamin A. Your body needs only 700 to 900 mcg per day. And with fortified foods, dairy, leafy greens, and fruits, it's easy to meet that. Supplements? They should be used if there's a proven deficiency, not as a just-in-case. If you've been feeling more fragile lately, more fatigued, don't dismiss it. Sometimes the slowest damage is the most dangerous and the hardest to catch. And vitamin A isn't the only one that hides behind a healthy reputation. It's easy to believe that if one vitamin is good, 2 must be better, and a handful, even healthier. But that mindset, especially as we age, can be dangerous. There's a quiet trap that many fall into, the illusion that more supplements mean more protection. In reality, without proper guidance, they can backfire, sometimes in ways you don't even notice until it's too late. You pick up a bottle that promises energy, stronger bones, clearer thinking, no prescription, no blood work, no warning. And when something goes wrong, your legs feel weaker, your balance is off, you don't think to blame the vitamins. They're supposed to help, not harm, right? One man I met, a 68-year-old cyclist, took a stack of supplements every morning. He thought he was doing everything right. But when his legs began to cramp and his stamina nosedived, it wasn't age or activity. It was a toxic mix of fat-soluble vitamins building up in his system, unnoticed. His healthy habit had become the silent cause of decline. Supplements aren't inherently bad, but the over-the-counter ease, the flashy promises, the lack of personalization, that's the problem. You're not a label. You're a living, aging body with unique needs. What works for one person could slowly chip away at another's health. And while vitamins may feel like safety nets, sometimes they're woven with holes. But there's a better way. One rooted not in assumptions but in real, personalized care. As the body ages, it stops playing by the rules you grew up with. Nutrients absorb differently. Tolerance shifts. What once energized you might now leave you depleted or dizzy. That's why blindly following general supplement advice, what works for the average adult, is like using someone else's glasses. The fit might seem close, but the result? Blurry at best, dangerous at worst. Most supplement labels don't speak your language. They're written for a generic body that doesn't account for slowed metabolism, changing kidney function, or reduced muscle mass. And yet, many people over 60 continue relying on them without question. But guess who does understand your body's evolving chemistry? A geriatric-trained professional. They read those subtle signs, why your legs feel weaker, why fatigue lingers, and can spot the nutrient imbalances others miss. I remember a woman in her 70s who'd been taking the same multivitamin since her 40s. Her blood work showed toxic levels of vitamin A and borderline B6 toxicity. Her doctor had never checked, but one consult with a geriatric nutritionist changed everything. tailored recommendations, adjusted doses, and within months, she was walking steadier and sleeping better. Getting a nutrient panel is simple. Reviewing your supplements with a trained eye, life-changing. It's not about cutting everything. It's about keeping what serves you now. Because the goal isn't just more years. It's better ones. And sometimes better starts with rethinking even the healthiest habits. It's a strange truth. What once kept you strong might now be slowly wearing you down. The routines you've trusted for years, even decades, don't always age as gracefully as you do. That multivitamin, that morning capsule lineup, that daily health ritual, are they still helping? Or are they quietly dragging your body in the opposite direction? The hard part is it doesn't feel dramatic. It creeps in, a little more fatigue, a bit more wobble when standing. You assume it's normal, but what if it's not? What if it's your body trying to tell you that something needs to change? Take Jim, a 74-year-old who never missed his health stack every morning. B12, E, A, D, all the usual suspects. But over time, walking became tiring, and he found himself catching the wall more often than he liked. Turns out, his system was overloaded. Vitamins that once supported his body in his 50s were now overwhelming it. With a few small tweaks and a check-in with a specialist, he got his stride and his confidence back. Aging isn't a straight line. It's a shifting landscape. The key isn't just doing what's always worked. It's knowing when to update the map. Your needs are changing, and that's not a weakness. That's a chance to get even stronger, smarter, and more in control. And that reevaluation? It starts not in a bottle, but in the kitchen. Somewhere along the way, we started believing pills were smarter than food. Faster, easier, more precise. But your body was designed to recognize nutrients in their natural form, wrapped in fiber, balanced with enzymes, delivered with cofactors only real food can provide. A capsule can't do that. And when it comes to healthy aging, that difference matters more than ever. Supplements have their place, sure, but they should never replace meals. Not when a plate of salmon with steamed spinach, a handful of walnuts, or a bowl of lentils can offer the same vitamins. Just better, safer, and more complete. Real food isn't just fuel. It's instruction for your cells, and it comes with built-in safeguards that synthetic pills don't. There was a gentleman I knew, mid-70s, who relied on 6 different supplements daily to cover his bases. Yet he skipped meals, lived on toast and coffee, and wondered why he was losing strength. It wasn't until a dietitian helped him trade his pill routine for a real food plan, soups, roasted veggies, lean proteins, that his energy returned and his legs stopped shaking on the stairs. Food speaks your body's language fluently. It knows when to boost and when to back off. Pills? They often shout, and your system pays the price. If your shelf is full of bottles but your fridge is nearly empty, it might be time to flip that script, because the real danger to your legs might not come in a bottle. It could be in what you're not putting on your plate. Let's get honest, sitting feels harmless, comfortable even. But over time, it quietly becomes one of the most damaging habits for your legs, your balance, and your overall independence. More than any supplement, more than any vitamin, it's the hours spent still that steal your strength fastest. Muscles don't ask for much, but they do ask to be used. What many don't realize is how quickly inactivity triggers decline. Just a few weeks of prolonged sitting can begin shrinking leg muscles and reducing blood flow. And here's the kicker. It happens even if you exercise once a day. Because if you're sitting for the other 10 hours, that short burst isn't enough to undo the damage. I met a former teacher, 79, sharp as ever mentally, but shocked when she started needing a walker. Her legs weren't weak from illness. They were weak from disuse. After she replaced afternoon TV time with 10-minute standing tasks, watering plants, folding laundry, pacing during phone calls, her stamina slowly came back. Small movement, big impact. Your legs are your lifeline. They carry you through daily living, protect you from falls, and keep you connected to the world. The longer you stay still, the faster they forget how to work for you. Supplements might promise strength, but strength is built through movement. And sometimes, the simplest fix starts with standing up. You don't grow old the moment you turn a certain age. You grow old the moment you stop questioning what you've always done. That's something a veteran once told me. A man well into his 80s who still stood taller than most people half his age. Not because his spine was straight, but because his mind was. He'd spent years following every health trend thrown his way. The vitamins, the powders, the TV doctor recommendations. He meant well, of course. He was doing what so many do, trusting the labels, assuming that more support meant more strength. But slowly, his legs began betraying him. Standing became slow. The stairs looked longer. He started catching himself on walls, furniture, anything close by. He didn't want to admit it, but fear was setting in. And then came the moment he couldn't ignore. The fall. It wasn't dramatic. Just a quick slip in the kitchen. The kind that happens when your body isn't quite as steady as it used to be. But for him, it was a wake-up call. Not just about balance, but about everything. He told me later that what scared him most wasn't the fall itself. It was realizing how unaware he'd been, how confident he'd felt, thinking he was doing everything right. The truth was, his health routine was silently working against him. Vitamins in doses his body no longer needed. Meals that lacked the real nourishment his muscles were desperate for. And like so many, hours of sitting that crept into his day without him noticing. But here's what makes this story worth sharing. He didn't freeze there. He changed. Not all at once, but he started small. He brought his supplement list to a doctor who specialized in aging. He cut back on what wasn't needed. He added foods rich in natural nutrients. Sweet potatoes, beans, leafy greens, grilled fish. He stood up every hour. Took walks again, even if just around the living room during commercials. He stopped thinking of aging as a decline and started seeing it as a signal to adapt. The result? His legs grew stronger. His balance improved. But more than that, his confidence returned. He didn't feel trapped in his home or his body anymore. He said something that stuck with me. I used to think strength meant pushing through, but now I know. It means listening. And that's the difference. Healthy aging isn't passive. It's built on awareness, on curiosity, on the willingness to change when your body asks you to. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present enough to recognize when something needs to shift. Because strength doesn't disappear overnight. It fades quietly unless you choose to notice. And when you do, you can bring it back. Not by doing more, but by doing smarter. That kind of strength, the kind rooted in awareness, is what protects your independence more than any pill ever could. And now, with all this in mind, there's one more thing that ties it all together. Think your vitamins are helping? One might be weakening your legs. Click now before it gets worse.